The Sabbath was made for mankind, not mankind for the Sabbath. These words spoken by Jesus in Mark 2:27 offer us a beautiful picture of the heart and the intention of Sabbath as a gift created by God to bless humankind. Yet for most pastors and ministry workers, these words can often land differently. For many, the idea of Sabbath equates to attending a Sunday service, often followed by a day of rest, away from the grind of work, school, and so on. But for spiritual leaders whose work is providing the Sabbath and spiritual care for others, complications quickly arise. At its inception, Sabbath finds its roots all the way back in Genesis, when God, after creating the heavens and earth and all creation, after creating humankind in His image, took a day of rest, not because He needed it, but because He knew we would. Author Peter Scazzero writes, "The essence of being created in God's image is our ability, like God, to stop. We imitate God by stopping our work and resting. And pastors and ministers are no exception to this need. Sabbath is a mandated gift from a good God." Perhaps my favorite example of Sabbath is found in the book of Exodus. The commandment for the Israelites to remember the Sabbath and keep it holy was a declaration to the surrounding nations that they were no longer slaves as they had existed in Egypt, but a free people deeply loved by God. Likewise, our observance of Sabbath serves as a sign that we are a free people, not valued for our productivity, but for our very personhood. Craig Dennison from the First 15 podcast states, "We are designed for rest. When we value success and busyness over relationship with God and obedience to His commands, our priorities begin to fall out of place. When we choose busyness over rest, we place more value on whatever we are working toward than on a restored relationship with God and the abundant life He died to give us." Ministry workers who place a greater emphasis on doing work for God instead of being with God are no exception. As Dr. M. Robert Mulholland so beautifully explains, we will expend amazing amounts of energy trying to be in the world for God, but you see, we are called to be in God for the world. The gift of a routine Sabbath, it is countercultural. It is counterintuitive. Sabbath at its core is resistance. But the fruit of obedience in this area is a deeper experience with the mystery of God and a right-ordered remembrance that our job and God's job are markedly different. The practical side of this is that Sabbath it won't happen on its own, especially for those whose work is to provide the Sabbath for others. And so much of our time is spent around the free time of our congregation and lay leaders. You will not accidentally trip over a Sabbath, and your Sabbath will almost definitely not be on a Sunday. This means you must be intentional. You must plan Sabbath ahead of time and get stubborn about protecting it. Count it congregational care if necessary. Block out an appointment in your calendar with the Lord if need be. It is that important. And if it's not a full day at first, that's okay. Start where you can and build from there. What is most important is that you plan ahead and look to include in your Sabbath the four mainstays: a time where you stop, a time where you rest, a time where you delight, and a time where you worship. Let's first focus on this idea of stopping. We stop by ceasing our regular day-to-day work. This may mean doing extra work ahead of time to ensure that it happens, but all things that relate to your day-to-day work should be put on pause during your Sabbath. Next, we enter rest when we make calculated decisions to truly rest well. Taking time to slow down, read, take a nap, go for a walk, cook a favorite meal, whatever it is that you need for your soul to feel that time is moving slowly in this space, That's what we invite you to enter into in this mainstay. And that will lead us to the next, delight. Isn't it amazing that God created us to delight? In a Sabbath context, this means surrounding yourself with life-giving people and practices. Not everyone should be invited into your Sabbath. That's okay. You can be available to them the other 6 days. This is your time to restore. And here's the best part. When we go through this process, the natural byproduct is that we get to experience joy. Sabbath really is all about joy. We regain perspective that God made us for joy and to enjoy Him and His many gifts. And this place will always lead us to our final mainstay, which is worship. Worship defined as a heart focused on exalting and thanking our good and generous God. The long-term fruit of a Sabbath practice is a lasting gratitude that we are so much more than the rise and fall of the ministries we've built. We are image bearers whose very lives touch eternity. Through this practice, we gain right-sized perspective of ourselves to God and a right-sized perspective to the deeper relationships with those we love and serve.